guys, what is up? Thank you so much for being here. Sorry I was a couple minutes late. I was having issues setting up this system I used to go live. It was trying to do an update on the software, and I was like, no, I had to keep telling it, like, don't do it now because I'm trying to do this live show. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go ahead and say hello to the people who are in the room right now. I see Charles, Emilio, Hollowed Hearts, Ralph, Janik. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hopefully you guys see me now. It seems like you do. So anyway, very interesting episode last night. I feel like we have a lot to talk about. Hi, Hunter. Hi, the gaming actor. Hi, Georgie. Hi, Brock. Elliot. Janik is in Germany. I've been close to Germany. I've been to Austria, but not Germany yet. I want to get there. Hi, T-Hulk. Hi, Yin finna do that. Jamie, thank you guys so much for being here. So what did you guys think about last night's episode? Definitely a lot of supernatural stuff into play here, which really isn't that surprising. And I was very surprised. Well, let me say first, if you haven't seen last night's episode, please exit before we get into the spoilers. I don't want to spoil anyone. I'm getting ready to tell you something big that happened. So if you don't know, you will be upset. So basically, with the grandma being murdered by her own grandson, but of course he thought it was the Rubber Man. Now, you guys know the Rubber Man is like a nod to season 1. That person always freaked me out in season 1. So it freaked me out again this time. Callie is asking me if I think Michael Langdon, the Antichrist, is gay. I'm not really sure. Or maybe he like doesn't identify. I'm not really sure. But what are your thoughts about the Rubber Man? Do you think it was just Evan Peters' character's name, remind me. Do you think that it was just like Evan Peters' imagination? Or do you think this person is real? Or do you think this person can only be seen by Evan Peters' character? Ralph is wondering if the Rubber Man is Tate. Tate, of course, was played by Evan Peters in season 1. Tate is the dad of Michael Langdon. So Rubber Man was Tate in season 1 as well. Janik thinks that the person is real. So the person could definitely be Tate, even though the person had sex with Evan Peters, because Evan Peters is playing dual roles. So I don't think it would be like, well, I don't know. I mean, do you think they're trying to make it seem like, what's Evan Peters' name this time around? Why can't I remember it? Do you think they're supposed to they want it to be like Evan Peters had sex with himself, or we have two different people because Evan is playing different people? Janik says the funniest scene was where Evan Peters was punished and screamed iconic LGBT names. Very funny. He actually enjoyed the punishment. So that's probably the first time I've seen that in a show where someone was like asking to be punished more when they were actually being punished. So Ralph says if the murder house is leveled in 2020, then maybe the ghosts are allowed to roam free. So Callie says Evan is playing, is it Gallant? Is that how you say the name? If I'm saying it wrong, let me know. So we also had the supernatural effect with the snakes. They were appeared everywhere, which was very creepy. And then they cooked the snakes and served everyone soup. But then when they started to eat the snakes, or tried to eat, the snakes were alive again. So that was another supernatural thing that probably has some sort of symbolic meaning as well. Emilio says you don't think that it's Tate, the Rubber Man, because the body of this time around of the Rubber Man was really built. Definitely did seem to be a different body frame than Evan. Lauren's asking who I think was in the black costume the first time. Do you mean the first time we saw them in this episode or in season 1? So T-Hulk is saying maybe Michael Langdon can move the ghosts around, take them where he goes. Well, Michael definitely cannot be trusted. I don't think he's going to align himself with anyone, which means like I don't think any of those characters can feel safe around him or feel like he's going to protect them or he's going to have their back. So when we're talking about Tate, Lauren, we're talking about season 1, Evan Peters' character from season 1, who is the father of Michael Langdon, who's now grown up. But has it been explained, like, why Michael Langdon is way older than he should be? Or is it just because he's the Antichrist? Yeah, so anyway, we still haven't seen any kind of, like, what is the word for this? We haven't seen anything to lead us to believe that season 3 is in the mix, even though we know Coven, was that season 3, right? That Coven is connected to this season, but we haven't seen, like, any Coven imagery or anything. Ralph says, is it Gallant? Ralph says, despite how bad it came out, Mr. Gallant or whatever told Michael the truth, therefore he is safe. Charles says, Evan Peters being gallant and seeing his other character, Tate, was weird. So we're not really sure if the Rubber Man was Tate or not, but, well, you mean Evan Peters? So Evan Peters is, like, in all the seasons, right, Lauren? Like, he's, like, the hairdresser in this season, but he's been, like, I think in every single season. Hi, Dean. How are you doing? Thanks for being here. The biggest part. Yeah, we're really stuck on all of this. So Emilio's bringing up another point that I wanted to get into. When Kathy was shot, Kathy Bates' character, I think her name is Meade, instead of blood, she had, like, goo or whatever. So kind of like what you would expect from an alien. So what's up with her? She's not a human. We also heard Stevie Nicks music. What does Stevie Nicks music, what does that entail? That really, honestly, yes, that is kind of a connection to Coven. So when you hear that music, what do you think of? Hi, Dan the Man, thank you for being here. So Georgie thinks that snakes were a sign of the witches, which, yeah, okay, so maybe that the symbols of the Coven were very understated with the music. Yes, Misty was obsessed with Stevie Nicks, which was actually kind of funny. I thought in that season. So we're hearing that music, we're seeing the snakes. So instead of, like, having, like, in-your-face references, like Rubber Man was kind of like an in-your-face reference, we're having, like, understated ones. Charles is asking if I think Michael Langdon will punish Venable for punishing the two that copulated. Yeah, I mean, I think he really doesn't like her because basically she just made her own rules. He was kind of trying to get her to say that. So he doesn't like her and he doesn't like Meade, Kathy Bates' character. Also, we have the issue with Venable having, like, scoliosis or something much worse going on with her back, which she, I guess, has been trying to hide with the crazy 1800s clothing. We don't know what's the deal with that, but apparently it was like Michael already knew that she had this issue and she was embarrassed by it and didn't want people to know, so he kind of exposed her there. Georgie's asking, what do I think of the Mrs. Venable and Michael Langdon scene? That's exactly what I was talking about. So I think basically he's just trying to make her look vulnerable and expose her weaknesses, and maybe he'll tell everyone what's the deal with her. I don't know what that means, but she seems really embarrassed by it. So I don't know, like, was she born with this? Is she not totally human? Was she, like, abused and disfigured? Whatever. I think that, you know, he's going to use that to expose her as a weak person and make her look, you know, less than, like, to the rest of the people. So now I haven't seen Freak Show because I'm not a real fan. I'm joking, but I haven't seen it. Ralph says, what if Venable is D or Dot from Freak Show? So that doesn't mean anything to me, but you never know because all of the seasons are connected in some way. So CT is thinking that Langdon will hook up with Madison. She's kind of evil enough. Yeah, definitely she is, which is, that could definitely happen. I'm just really excited, and I know we're only in the second episode, but I'm really excited for, like, more of the Coven stuff to come out and more of the Murder House stuff to come out. So we don't know, Georgie is saying, what is the deal with Emily and Timothy? Why were they selected? You know, they said that they had, like, super DNA or something, supposedly, but we don't know what exactly that means or if even that's true or what's going on. Elliot's wondering if since the two of them had sex, well, there's a point, you know, maybe since they had sex, who knows, like, if she ends up pregnant, they may be having, like, some kind of super baby. It seems like if they want to repopulate the earth, they would want those two to get together because if they have amazing DNA, then they would have, like, an amazing kid. Lauren's asking, isn't it a guy, though, because of the sex scene you're talking about, the Rubber Man? I would assume that it is. Yeah, definitely. I would assume that. What else? Oh, something else I wanted to bring up that I don't think we talked about actually yesterday from last week's episode. You know, when it was figured out like that nobody was flying that plane when they were going to the cooperative or whatever. It kind of made me wonder, like, if all of this is even taking place or if all of these people are dead and they're just imagining, dreaming, whatever, that they went to this safe place. Well, kind of safe. I don't know how safe it is, but like, it was kind of weird that no one was flying the plane. Like, it's almost like, are they really is all of this taking place, or are we going to end up like with a dream thing at the end, or like they were all like, they're all dead in LA or whatever, and this actually never happened. I don't know. Or it could be on autopilot, but I mean, there was never a pilot ever. I mean, I'm not saying that all this show makes sense and that everything that happens is real and could happen in real life. But, right, Emilio says maybe it's an alternative reality, you know, like an alternate reality. Just something to think about. So Callie is wondering if Coco's husband or boyfriend survived. Well, I would assume that nobody made it who was left on Earth or whatever, but I think Billy Eichner, I think, plays that role, is going to be in the show as another person, so we're not going to, like, lose him. Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for being here. Good to see you. So I didn't know of an autopilot plane that could land and take off by itself. Maybe there is such a thing. Again, maybe if you, maybe there are things like that and we don't know because we're not super rich or something. I don't know. But, so I think it's very interesting that we've already lost Joan Collins' character 2 episodes in. And I'm wondering, like, is she off the show, or is she going to be playing other roles, looking, you know, differently in different costumes or disguises, or is she, like, off the show? So maybe witches were flying the plane, and Ralph is saying no pilots flying the plane is a nod to no pilots flying the plane in Temple of Doom. Is that, are you talking about, I can't think, Indiana Jones? Indiana Jones, yeah. So Lauren thinks that Billy was in the costume, Billy Eichner, who would be Coco's boyfriend. Interesting. So, well, you know, we don't think he made it. I don't know if he could have been, like, in the luggage area of the plane or something. I don't know. Okay. So, another question is, who is going to be chosen to move out of this area and to go with Michael? And again, I think we talked about this yesterday, like, first of all, people are going to die. We've already had 1 death, and I thought for a second Kathy Bates' character was dead, but she wasn't. Oh, so Georgie says that Joan Collins said in an interview that she's playing different characters. So that's really cool because we don't lose her. I didn't think we would lose her off the show like this soon, unless she basically just wanted like a cameo, or she just like wanted to say like, hey, I was actually, you know, I was on American Horror Story for a little bit. So I kind of think a lot of these people this season are going to play a bunch of different roles, and they will look different, right? So they'll have like different names and whatever. I'm not saying like they'll come back to life as their same person, which I guess they could as well, but they'll probably play actually different people because we're dealing with so many different realms. We will be here eventually, you know. Yes, Michael definitely seemed to like Coco, which she's my favorite because she's hilarious, and I just like Leslie Grossman anyway. So he did seem to like her. He asked a lot of questions about her, and I think Venable was like, oh no, she's like really stupid or whatever. She's like really into herself or whatever. So Ralph says Coco's husband is alive. He was under the carriage in the trailer. So there's a very good chance he's going to reappear soon in this season. But Ralph thinks he has radiation poisoning, so he may have some disfiguring. You know, Georgie really liked the grandma. I did too, so I was like, man, like they killed her off really fast. That was shocking. Jamie's wondering if Adina Porter's character will get chosen. So she's kind of been definitely in the background so far this season. And even like Venable said, she didn't really know much about her. So who knows? Usually they make her kind of like a badass character in the show. So I could definitely see her becoming like an evil person because she seems really nice and like she's like low drama and there's like nothing really going on with her. And I could definitely see her being like some person in alliance with Michael, like she's like straight up the devil or something. Diana says, technically would be the reporter Sarah plays would be a good age for this season, like not dead yet. You forget timelines. Are you talking about, I know who you're talking about, Lana Winters? Amy says, what if the witches are actually invading the safe places looking for Michael? Yeah, so they could be posing as snakes or whatever, and they're wondering where he is. Not a bad idea at all. Georgie's wondering if Grandma is really dead or Michael was just playing with Mr. Gallant. Good question. I thought that she was dead, but, you know, anything can happen on this show. Who do I want to survive? Well, so far I really like Coco, so I'm hoping for her. But, of course, I love Evan Peters in general, so I don't want him to die. I don't see him dying anytime soon. And, of course, even though I don't really like Sarah Paulson's character this season, I like for her to stick around, and she always seems to stick around until the very, very end, so Venable, I would add her to that list, too. Elliot says, you don't think the sanctuary is real or what it seems? Yeah, I mean, there's already, like I said, so much stuff that's been shown that is supernatural, and we don't really know what to make of everything, like what is real, who can we trust, what can we trust, you know? Hollowed Heart says, what about Langdon sending emails? Is this supposed to mean something? Because how do they have email? Good point, because who is he emailing? How is that even still working? I know other people survived, but it seems weird that the internet would still be working. Very strange. Michael was really mean. Absolutely. I don't know why he was so mean to him, because Gallant never did anything to him. I don't know. Do I think we might get some more crossover? Oh, yeah, for sure, Susie, because they've barely done anything, especially with Coven and everything. So I think there'll be tons more, and I think we'll have scenes from Murder House. And, I mean, it would be really cool if we could get scenes from the house they filmed Coven in New Orleans. That would be awesome. So Ralph says Michael knows Venable is a fraud. He will probably not choose her. Definitely, because he doesn't like her. You can already tell. I did see the trailer that aired after last night's episode. Charles thinks that Michael will pick one of the people in the couple having sex, but not the two of them. Those two kids, not kids, I don't know how they're supposed to be teenagers, whatever. They're interesting as well because I think there's a lot more going on with those two than they've told us. I don't think they're just random people that we've added to the cast or just added to the mix. Like, I think, like, whatever's going on with their DNA or the reason they were chosen, I think that's, like, really, really interesting. We don't know yet, like, when we'll see more evidence of the crossover, Diana, so we don't know, like, when we'll see Emma Roberts or when we'll see the other witches or when we'll see Thaisa or, you know, we don't know that yet. People forget that Michael killed his babysitter as a toddler. So, yeah, if you were unsure, like, he's super evil. He's super, super evil. So he is not a good guy. Yeah, so in the promo, we saw a lot of the character that Billie Lourd is playing, which I think her hair is so funny. Like, I'm wondering if they had to put, like, a ton of hairspray to get her hair to stand straight up on her head. I know they put it, like, in a bunch of buns, but I think it's, like, a really cool, like, if I were on that show, I would like to have that hairstyle because it's bizarre. Like, you would never wear that in real life, and I think it's super cool. And I'm just like, man, but it probably really hurts to, like, take it down unless that's some sort of wig or something, but it seems like it's her hair. Charles is asking how I like the season so far, and yeah, I'm definitely liking it. It's very different from the other seasons, and I think that's something you can always expect. Every single season of the show has been super different from the others, and I really like that. Even though we're going to have crossover and everything, we know to expect that. Like, the setting and everything is very different, and that's something that's probably not that easy to do when we have a lot of the same cast every time. Of course, they're playing different roles, but I just think it's really cool how every season really stands out as individual. So Georgie said, it's sad that Billie Lourd is part of the Greys instead of the Purples. Yeah, well, I guess because she was just like an assistant or whatever in real life, so she's kind of taking on that same role in this version of life because she wasn't like in charge, you know, she wasn't like a super rich person, or she wasn't like someone who owned her own business or whatever. She was like working for others. So now she continues to work for others. Amy's really liking this season. Charles says that Michael may be choosing people who represent the seven deadly sins, which is interesting and would be interesting. I'm always interested in movies and stuff based on that. I think that's always interesting. Elliot says, you feel like this season is very different and secluded. It's like a different show and you love it. And, you know, with last season, we had a lot of stuff in modern times and like a very modern setting, modern clothing, everything's super modern. And Roanoke was a mix of like super back in the day, very old times with modern times. So this is interesting because we just had like half an episode in like modern time, modern clothing, and now we're way back in the past with the clothing. Even though the people are from the modern era, they have like they're wearing like stuff from the 1800s or whatever. But I don't think we'll stay in this setting and, you know, the whole show, because again, well, we're going to have like murder house and stuff like that, but that could definitely be done in flashbacks, kind of like the flashback they did at Gallant's grandmother's house. So it was like you can intertwine a bunch of stuff as flashbacks instead of like moving scenes or sets completely. Ralph says you think the young black girl is a relative to the Louisiana voodoo witches and the young white guy is a relative from another American Horror Story. I think their DNA is super important, and I think the reveal on both of them is going to be huge. And that's a good point. If you remember, Angela Bassett was in Coven. Maybe she is related to her. Like maybe that's her mom or her aunt or something. I think the ages would add up on that. That's a cool thought. And maybe, which, you know, what they could be doing here is that she's connected to Coven, and the guy that's like her boyfriend is connected somehow to Murder House, like a kid of like Connie Britton and Dylan or something like that, or relative. I don't know. Interesting. So Susie's asking, what do I think happened to Allie? Remind me who Allie is from the cult, like, or who played Allie, because that doesn't ring a bell. I'm sure I know. Kyle is asking what was the white goo or whatever in Kathy Bates, and I think that's just to signify that she's not human or that she's only part human or something. I don't know. Something's up with that. And if you were a human, you wouldn't have that goo stuff inside of you. Megan says you were a little worried about each person playing multiple characters after Murder House and Asylum. You think that American Horror Story has gone downhill. Cult was good, and so far this season is. You hope it continues. Well, for me personally, I've really liked the last two seasons, but I know everyone didn't like Roanoke. I really liked Roanoke, and I'm not sure about Election if everyone liked it. I really like that too. But, okay, Allie is Sarah Paulson's character. I'm getting so confused now. Are we talking about Allison Pill from last season, from Election? She definitely died. Hi, Deja. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, Mead is a host, for those of you who watch Westworld. Just joking, because they're not going to make her a host because it's a different show. But the last two seasons for me have been really, really good, but I know a lot of people didn't like them. That being said, I loved Cult and I love Murder House, and those were... It's hard because I really liked last season, but before last season I was saying that Cult and Murder House were my absolute favorites. So it's really hard because now I have 4 seasons that I really, really liked, but a lot of people hated Roanoke and I really liked it. I thought it was very unique and I loved the twist and the whole way, the way they totally switched gears with that. I thought that was really inventive. I really like that. What did happen to Sarah Paulson's character in Cult? Because I totally do not remember. It has been a minute since that has been on. I know a lot of people are asking that, so if anyone can help me remember, let me know. Hi, Gracie. Thank you so much for being here. But yeah, so far I'm really liking this season, but the thing about it also, even if we didn't, like, if I didn't have any clue it was going to be like a crossover between Cult and Murder House, I would still like it as a standalone, because right now, to me, it's like super standalone. Like, it's not combining those two. But I know that all of that's coming, so that to me makes me more excited because I know, like, it can only get better. If I didn't know that, I really wouldn't know which way it was going, and it had the potential to be really bad. I just don't think they're going to screw up this season. It's very anticipated. It's been talked about for a while, and it combines, like, pretty much everyone's 2 most favorite seasons, so I don't think they're going to make it trash. I really hope not. Anyway, Wait, I'm so confused. Are we talking about, so I think there's like two separate conversations. Like, people are asking about Sarah Paulson in the cult. I mean, in the coven. Is that what people are asking about? Or are we talking about last season? Because I definitely remember last season that she like insinuated that Allie was going to start her own cult. So I'm getting confused because some people are asking about Sarah Paulson in Coven, which, what was she in Coven? Was she in Coven? I don't remember. But yes, from last season, her girlfriend, she killed her girlfriend, and then she was like gonna, I thought it was really good. I love last season. It was like she was gonna start her own cult or whatever after she had made it through all of this. So anyway, Cheyenne is bored with the show. Oh man. Well, I think something about this, typically it gets better. It gets more interesting, you know. She was the Supreme in Coven. Thank you, the Nubian hippie. Okay, thank you. Cordelia, thank you. Now I remember that. Thank you so much. Okay. Oh, man. It's hard. It's hard to keep up with all of these. Hi, Locke. Thank you so much for being here. Hi, Sammy. Sammy wants Venable versus Cordelia. So Sarah Paulson versus herself, which would be funny. And she became Supreme at the end of Coven. Wow. Gosh, a lot to keep up with. Because we are on, yeah, season 8. There's been 8 of these. Lauren has been bored with the show since Roanoke. So I would say the one great thing about this show, which we've kind of talked about, is that every season is different. So, you know, if it's a show for me, if I have been bored for 3 seasons, I would have quit it. But it's different every time, so I see why you guys are sticking around, because you don't know what to expect. Gemini says you're bored with the season, but you were bored during the first 3 episodes of Cult, and that is your second favorite season, so you'll give it a chance. For Roanoke, I really hated it for the first 3 or 4 episodes until they did like the reveal and the switch and everything, and I was like, oh, this is really good. But Roanoke for me was a struggle. Something else I struggle with, you guys that have watched me for a while, it's probably a weird thing, but I really dislike shows for the most part that take place in like the 1800s and stuff. So I will say I'm thankful with this episode or this season that even though we look like we're in the 1800s, they talk about modern things and they're from a modern era, because if we were back like we were in Roanoke with like way back in the past, I would be struggling with this season. But knowing that they basically came from our time period and they've been placed in this area where they're being told to wear this clothes or whatever is okay. Like I really did like Downton Abbey, so that's one exception. There's always an exception, but for the most part, I do not like historical shows from a billion years ago. I cannot deal with that for the most part. Lauren is asking if people are getting the what is it? The symbolism that Emily and Timothy are supposed to be Adam and Eve, forbidden fruit and all that. And I think that someone already mentioned that and I just didn't have a chance to read it, say it. Yeah, so possibly, but now they've already, you know, had sex, so what does that mean? Just like the world coming to an end? I don't know. I did love season 1. Season 1 overall, Murder House is probably my favorite. It was just special, and of course, it was the thing that started my love for this whole series, and it was just really good. I don't know. I really liked it. But there have been other seasons I really, really loved. Yes, I will be covering How to Get Away with Murder, and I am excited about it, and I really enjoyed the way it ended last season, so I'm really excited for that. I know a lot of people have Asylum as their favorite. For me, it wasn't, probably because it was, God, it didn't even happen that long ago. Was that in like the 50s or something? I'm not even going to talk about how it happened in the past. Let me stop there, but still. To me, Asylum was weird. Like the alien... Oh my God, so remember the alien ending? Do you guys think that's connected to, like, Mead in any way? And do you guys think that, like, okay, so, right, wasn't Evan Peters' character, he had married, like, a black woman at the end of Asylum, right? So could this girl be their daughter or something? That's kind of, like, a crazy stretch, but, like, what's her name? We just talked, Emily. Could Emily, like, be connected to that? I mean, I don't know. Because remember, like, the weird alien ending? I never understood that. I thought that was so weird in Asylum. Like, I was like, why are we ending with that? Like, that's so weird. Gemini thinks Timothy and Emily might be the grandchildren of the Asylum alien twins. Are you suggesting that they're, like, like, related. Oh, my God. But I don't know. I just had that thought because, like, I don't know. I've never even thought of that until now. Yeah, Ryan Murphy is really unpredictable. But you're saying Emily is too young. But if you're an alien, you could age quicker, right? Also, Michael Langdon is way too old to be... he should not be that old. If he was Tate and Violet's kid, when was that, 2011? Why is he this old? Why is he like 20 or whatever? He's too old. So if he's too old, then, you know, Emily could be too old. I don't know, you know. But so, yeah, I mean, how do you know, like, remember something else? I'm thinking about this is why we have these chats. Remember that Emily was found in jail. Like, she wasn't with her family. She has never talked about being sad. Remember, what's his name was like, I'm so sad about my family, or he talked to me. You know, we saw him being taken from his family. So, are you kidding me? T. Culk says that Emily, I was getting ready to mention this too. T. Culk says that Emily is the name of Adina Porter's daughter from Roanoke. Is that correct? Because, that could be our connection. I don't know. So again, you know how every single season is connected. So something is up with Emily. I think Emily could even not be a nice person, you know? I mean, how do you know? How do you know? But so yeah, so apparently Emily was Lee, who was Adina Porter character, who was like pretty much the star of Roanoke. So again, she was not that old, but I don't know, because Michael Langdon is way too old. He should not be this old, so does it really matter? The ages are not going to match up on either one. Callie thought the rubber man was the grandma. No, I think like Evan Peters' character, just Gallant or whatever, just freaking blacked out or whatever and thought that it was the rubber man, but it really was her. Funny. Okay, bye, Amy. Thank you for being here. Right, so Emily was the one who kept pushing the fact that they would have sex, which really you were like, whatever, like that you would look at that and think, whatever, anybody would do that, but, you know, does she have an ulterior motive? Because again, you know, everyone's not going to be as they seem. That's pretty much formulatic for Ryan Murphy. I still think Adina Porter this season's probably the devil because she just looks normal. Lauren is saying we don't know if Emily has perfect DNA. We don't. That's what she said. That's what she said. That's what she said. Was she the one who said no, so the dude, Timothy, he said he was told they got his DNA from like Ancestry.com, which was actually so funny. Such a funny line, because there's been stories published about how you should not submit your DNA to like those things like 23andMe and stuff, because literally you are giving away like your DNA. I don't know if that's true, but like I actually have done that. So I don't know, guys. If they come looking for me, you know, if they come looking for me in the future to go to this other place, then well, it worked in my favor. But like basically you're voluntarily giving your DNA to these people. So Emily definitely is just too nice. Something's up. And I'm glad we had this conversation because I never really questioned her, but I had questioned Adina Porter, and I think that there's definitely signs pointing to Adina Porter's character being shady, because Venable was like, I don't really know much about her. And you know Venable was trying to throw everyone under the bus. So I think that she's definitely evil, because, you know, if you really pay attention, you can catch things in his shows. And they made that little point in this week's episode to be like, Venable had nothing bad to say about this woman, so she's evil. Now, Emily, honestly, I had not put a lot of thought into her, but I think, guys, something's not right. So either she doesn't have perfect DNA or something. You know, she could be not even human. I don't know. All right, so, well, the grays and purples are just like social classes, I guess, you know, so it's basically like the purples are the people who are the upper class and the grays are like the worker bees or whatever. So Gemini says, if you remember in Asylum, the alien's goal was to create the perfect human. So if Timothy and Emily both had perfect DNA, they could be the alien descendants, which is very cool and a very good point, and also very disgusting, and I could see them going there, that these two are like brother and sister or something like that. And honestly, she's going to end up being pregnant, and she's going to have some, right? Aren't they talking about repopulation? She's probably pregnant from them having sex, and who knows what kind of baby she's having. Probably, I don't even know, because we already have the Antichrist, so she's probably having like a demon. Amelia, what comment are you talking about? Kyle's asking about Venable getting the injury. I don't know. We kind of talked about that earlier. So I don't know if she was born that way or if she was like abused or who knows. But it's something that makes her appear to be weak, and I think Michael's definitely going to use that against her to make her look like a weak person, you know, in front of everyone else. So Ralph says Adina Porter. What is Adina Porter's name in this series? Because I know that drives a lot of people nuts, because for the first few episodes, I'll keep calling people by their real names, and sometimes people get really offended. I don't know. It's easy to offend people, I guess. But it's like, it takes me a while to learn their new names because they're like on the show every year and I have to remember who they are this time. But does anyone know? Dinah Stevens? Is that her name this season? Okay. So Ralph is saying if she is known by the other characters as someone from TV, right? So she's like some kind of talk show host is what I took from that. So was she someone in Roanoke? Like, was she, interesting, was she a TV person like that had something to do with that whole reality show? This is really complicated, but I feel like we're making some progress with this discussion. So Yeen finna do that. Says in Asylum, Evan Peters had 2 kids with 2 different women, so it might be those 2, and that's why they don't want them to have sex. Great point. Even if that's them, they're still related. Not as bad as like straight up brother and sister, but they're like half brother and sister. So I feel like we're going in that direction. Like I feel like these 2 are related and they're having a devil baby. Okay. Ralph says Dinah could change her name due to the attention of her getting away with murder. But did it seem like people knew her or no? Did anyone recognize her from TV? Because if she was like someone as big as Oprah, wouldn't the whole group be like, oh, like I know her, like, you know, like it'd be like if Judge Judy was there with you, you'd be like, that's Judge Judy. Like everyone would know. They wouldn't have any questions like, who is this? How would aliens make devil babies? Well, I don't know. How does any of this stuff happen? How did Tate and Violet make the Antichrist baby? You know, anything can happen on this show though. So Dinah is a mystery, which means Dinah is the devil. I'm marking that down now. And I also believe, what's her name? Emily is pregnant. Of course, it only took one time. Of course. Megan says we're making progress in this chat. You're loving it. You've never thought about all these Asylum crossover bits until now. Yeah, so it is making sense. But the other thing that I cannot get out of my mind now is that what about Roanoke, and what about the fact that Lee's daughter was named Emily, and that's bothering me. Because the fact that her daughter was specifically named Emily, and now we have an Emily who's also black. I don't know, because could we have that connection? So that's messing with me too. I don't know. And I understand their ages are not matching up, because I'm seeing that comment a lot. But also, why do I keep saying Violet? Tate and Vivian. I'm sorry, Sammy. I'm so sorry. But back to Michael. He is too old. Right? He's like, when did that air? When did Murder House air? I don't know. He shouldn't be that old, right? Okay. Ralph says Madison is connected to Murder House because of her relatives are the original owners and share her last name. And I didn't even remember that. That's crazy. So, there's a lot of stuff here. Like, a lot. But right now, I'm not at the point where I can say, like, oh, this is this connection and that's that connection and here's how it's all going to play out. But Elliot's thinking that Michael isn't Michael, so not actually their baby, I guess. I don't know. So the Shook Queen says, you don't think Dinah is Lee because the personalities feel different because Dinah is way nicer and Lee seems serious. Well, I'm not saying that Dinah has to be Lee, but I am saying that Emily could be Lee's kid, and let's just pretend that even though Adina Porter is the woman who played both roles, that in this instance, Adina Porter is not related to Emily. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I still think Dinah is evil, but I'm not trying to connect her with Emily in this season, but I think she could be Lee. Let's pretend like they're two different people, even though they're played by the same person. Like, I think that Lee could be the mom of Emily, but I also think it could be that connection to aliens and everything, especially with what happened with Kathy Bates last night in Asylum. This is exhausting. Susie says in the finale of American Horror Story Hotel, it goes into the future all the way to 2022, and the world is still normal in that season. But Ryan said the apocalypse starts in 2019, so was that a plot hole? I don't know, because I didn't watch that season. So, and I'm starting to see the fact that I didn't watch that season and the fact that I didn't watch Freak's show is like very bad for me, because since they're all like super related, you know, this was. When I didn't watch both of these, this was obviously before I did this for my channel, but I'm feeling like, man, I definitely should have watched these, because now, I don't know. Sam says Lee's daughter was called Flora. You know, that is ringing a bell. That is really ringing a bell. So if that's true, we can get off of that and think that there must be connected to the aliens from Asylum, which I think makes more sense anyway. Oh my gosh, this is really confusing. T. Culk is saying that Emily was not in Roanoke. She disappeared before. But there was an Emily in Roanoke. Oh my god. But so the kid that we saw in Roanoke was Flora. This is a lot. Like, my brain is absolutely spinning. Wow. Wow. Okay. Yes, Ralph was breaking down timelines in the comments of my chat from yesterday, which, if you guys want to check that out, there's a lot to it, so I'm not going to ask him to repeat it right now or for me to remember it, because it was a lot. Wow. A lot. This is so much. Yes, I can't always watch. I know. I should watch it on Netflix. I should go back and watch it, because it would probably help me with future seasons. Okay, so this is insane. I'm going to let you guys go for here. I'm going to try to interpret all of this and put it into a sit-down video. Wow, because this is a lot. But this was interesting, and that's the reason why I do chats like this, because I feel like if you're just sitting around thinking for yourself, it's not as easy to figure out how the stuff's connected. So, there's like a gnat in here, and it's driving me crazy. Thank you guys so much for being here. This was really fun and helpful. And I hope you guys have a great night, and I'm going to make a video trying to talk about what we talked about here and trying to make sense of it for people that don't come to these chats or don't want to. A lot of people won't watch them if they weren't here, because they're like, I don't want to sit through all of that, but you know. So we'll be doing these streams every Thursday, 5 p.m. the day after the episode airs, so I'll see you guys then next week, but I should have that video up tomorrow. So I hope you guys have a great week, rest of week, weekend, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.